Hello. Welcome back to the Spirituality with Ashley podcast. I'm your host, Ashley. I almost wanted to say Spotify with Ashley podcast, which is not what this is. That's not this. I mean, it's on Spotify. Okay, so I'm super excited about the episode today. We're going to be talking about energy healing with the emotion code. It's a new modality that I'm getting certified in. I will have my certification very shortly, and I'll be offering that as a service. You can already find a little bit about it on my website under services. There's already a description on there, and I will be opening up my books for booking. Ew, that was a weird way to say that. You should be able to schedule emotion code sessions beginning in April. I will have it available as a session that you can book. And so I really wanted to talk about it. I've been so excited about this for the past few weeks. I've done some free sessions for like about 40 sessions with people. I had to do a portfolio of case studies and sessions to get my certification. So once I went through the program, then I had to I had to actually practice everything. So I've had the best time. I have so many testimonials and cool experiences from people. I'm also going to be reading some testimonials from the book, The Emotion Code. So I'm really excited about this episode. In this episode, we're going to explore the emotion code, which is a powerful energy healing modality that was developed by Dr. Bradley Nelson. We're going to talk about the origins, the principles of the emotion code, the methodology, which is basically how it works. And we're going to focus on how to access the subconscious mind to identify and release trapped emotions. We're also going to talk about some common questions that are asked, concerns, some misconceptions. So we'll talk about what the emotion code is not, and just all get on the same page by clarifying some of that stuff. And that'll address some of the safety, effectiveness, and versatility of the emotion code as a holistic healing approach. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I'm also going to mention, as I always do, the potential benefits of the emotion code for emotional healing. I love talking about the benefits of stuff. We're going to talk about how you can use it for stress reduction, overall well-being, to help with physical discomfort or physical conditions you're having. And just overall, we're going to talk about how the emotion code can offer you a pathway to be able to address emotional imbalances, help with self-healing, and cultivate a greater emotional resilience and inner peace. Because we're always trying to cultivate more inner peace. It just helps with our lives overall. And so that is the intro. I think I'm getting way better about these intros, guys. I'm very proud of myself. It only took 10 episodes. So if you are not already subscribed to my newsletter, if you're interested in subscribing to the newsletter, you can do so from my website, ashleybrickhouse.com. I will put a link in the notes for this episode. And when you subscribe to that newsletter, I will not spam you. I really don't send out a lot of newsletters. But when I do, it's about upcoming events, new services, free stuff. Just by signing up for the newsletter, you get a discount on a session of your choice. And it also allows you to be the first to hear about new stuff that's coming up. And so if you like this episode and you're interested in the emotion code, or you're interested in a session, I'm going to be doing some webinars and workshops about it, like showing what it's like to have a session and like talking about it and explaining it. So definitely sign up if you're going to be interested in that, because I will be putting that out through my newsletter. I'll also be putting it out on social media. So follow me on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Spotify, if you're interested. And all right, let's get into this episode. I'm so excited. I have so much to talk about. So I'm going to really try to be very organized about this. Sometimes I can be a bit rambly. I have a ton of notes. So we're just going to go by point. I'm going to read some testimonials out of the book. I'm going to talk about some. I'm so excited. All right, so let's talk about what the emotion code is and its significance as far as energy healing, because I'm all about some energy healing. All right, the emotion code is an energy healing modality, and it works by identifying and releasing trapped emotions. So trapped emotions can create energetic imbalances that may contribute to physical discomfort, emotional distress. And it can also create other symptoms when you have an emotional or energetic imbalance. So through techniques like muscle testing, magnet therapy, pendulum use, you're able to access your subconscious mind through the emotion code, and that allows you to identify trapped emotions and facilitate their release, which ultimately will promote emotional healing and overall well-being. So we're just going to be accessing your subconscious, asking it questions, and there are specific questions that you ask, and then your subconscious kind of guides the session because your subconscious knows everything, and we'll get into that a little bit later. And then you release the emotion right then and there. It is so simple and easy. It's wild. It's wild. I think sometimes it's hard for us as humans to wrap our heads around modalities or things that are just simple and easy, because I think part of the programming that we've all essentially become comfortable with is that you have to work hard for stuff and you have to go to therapy for years and years. And I have done that. And I'm not saying don't go to therapy. The emotion code is a great add-on or complement to whatever medical treatment you're getting or you feel is necessary. It is not a way to bypass any medical treatment. It's not a cure for anything. So I just need to put that out there. But it can be a really great complement to whatever other therapy or medicine or avenue you're pursuing. All right, so the emotion code can be used on humans and it can be used on animals, which is really cool. I've done a bunch of animal sessions, including one on my cat, and she noticeably began behaving differently. She's very anxious. She's really terrified of everything, it seems like. She's got a lot going on. And so I did a session for her. Usually she'll hide. Whenever the doorbell rings, whenever somebody comes in the apartment, she goes into like super survival mode and she will hide. She hisses. She doesn't want anything to do with anybody. She gets very nervous and scared. And I did an emotion code session on her while she was sleeping, and she woke up, came over and was like sitting on my lap and laying on the the papers that I was using. And then I had a friend come over about 2 weeks later, I think, maybe a week and a half. And I was so surprised that she came out of, my cat came out, her name is Fish. She came out of her own volition and started, I just tapped on something and it's being weird. Okay, and I'm back. I don't know what I did. I did something. Anyway. I'll figure that out later. So yeah, she came out and she was actually being friendly and sweet and was very interested in my company. And like my friend who was over, I was so surprised. I've never seen her come out and do that. So that is an example. I wanted to also give another example from the book. So animals can be treated just like humans can be treated. And the emotion code works on humans, human adults, and animals. So this testimonial is about Jazzy, the chocolate lab. Jazzy, the chocolate lab, came from a puppy farm, spending years getting pregnant and having her puppies ripped away from her. Even after being in a loving foster home, Jazzy still had to be on anxiety medication. She was the most fearful dog that this practitioner had ever seen. Even coming into the house for the session they were having was scary for her. It was heartbreaking. In her session, they released the emotions of longing, failure, low self-esteem, and grief, all relating to her puppies. 2 days after the session, the foster parents reported that Jazzy made eye contact with them for the first time. They were blown away. They also noticed her doing things she hadn't done before. They asked the practitioner to come back and hold another session where they released even more emotions relating to her experience. Since then, Jazzy has made a huge improvement and no longer needs medication. She comes in the house with no fear. She seeks out her foster parents now, whereas before they had to go and look for her. The turnaround for Jazzy has been remarkable. How awesome is that? Oh, I love the animal testimonials. Oh my gosh, they're so good. I'm going to read some more, but that was the first one. Okay, so let's get into understanding the emotion code. So Let's talk about the emotion code and what the basic principles are. So the emotion code, as we already know, is an energy healing modality. It was developed by Dr. Bradley Nelson, and it focuses on identifying and releasing trapped emotions that are stored in your body and in your body's energy field, which is essentially, they're the same thing. They go hand in hand. At its core, the emotion code operates on the principles that unresolved emotional experiences can become trapped or encoded within the body, which can lead to physical and emotional imbalances. So we're going to get into, briefly touch on the 5 main principles of the emotion code. And so those are trapped emotions, muscle testing, you can also use other tools, release techniques, holistic healing, and self-empowerment. So the first one, trapped emotions, principle number 1. So unresolved emotional experiences can become trapped in your body's energy field, which ultimately can disrupt the flow of energy, and it can lead to physical discomfort, emotional distress, and other symptoms. And so the second principle of the emotion code is muscle testing. The emotion code uses muscle testing, which is also known as applied kinesiology. It is a scientific method. It's a legit thing. And it allows you to access the subconscious mind in order to identify trapped emotions. You can use it for other things too, but for this particular episode, we're just talking about how you can use the subconscious mind to identify trapped emotions. And muscle testing involves applying gentle pressure to specific muscles while asking yes or no questions. And it allows your body's innate intelligence to provide responses. You can also use a pendulum and other tools that are able to kind of sense those electromagnetic, very micro responses from your body. If you want to try muscle testing, one of the ways you can do it is by standing up with your feet a comfortable distance apart, about shoulder width, and with, I guess you can use shoes or no shoes, and you're gonna think about, so we're gonna do a yes first. So you're gonna think about peace and love. You can even think about somebody you have a lot of love for. You can focus on your heart, feeling compassion. And as you think the word yes, and you think about love and compassion, you should feel yourself kind of move a little forward and feel pressure on the balls of your feet. It should move your body forward. And it's a very slight reaction. It can take up to 10 seconds to notice the actual reaction from your body. And then the second part of that is testing out a no response. And so a no response would be related to things that are negative or untrue. And so a no response, to test that out, you would think about war, violence, anger, things like that, and just kind of hold that in your mind, focus on that, and that should create a response where it makes your body go back onto your heels. And it's a very slight movement. And again, it can take between 3 to 10 seconds, or it can be immediate. And so just practice that out. And then that's one of the ways you can do muscle testing. It's kind of fun to practice. I like to use a pendulum for my sessions. And so my pendulum will swing forward and backward for a yes, or left and right for a no, or it'll go in a circle for a neutral, which is another way that you can do these sessions if you're not comfortable with muscle testing. I love pendulums. I use pendulums all the time. I've been using pendulums for years, so I was super comfortable with that technique. Occasionally I'll use muscle testing, but usually I like to use the pendulum. It's also really cool to see it moving. Okay, the third principle is release techniques. So once a trapped emotion is identified, it's time to release it. And we do that by releasing the trapped emotion, the energy of that trapped emotion, through the body's energy field. And one of the methods of doing this is using a magnet. You can also use your hand, because this is very intention based, and you don't have to use the magnet because just using your hand is powerful enough. But I like to use a magnet. Using a magnet magnifies the intention. We have electromagnetic energy in our energy field. It is electromagnetic energy. And so using a magnet just amplifies your intention. And what you're going to do with the magnet is we just swipe it over specific energy meridian points, which allows you to dislodge and release the trapped emotion from your energy field. Love it. I love it so much. Okay. And the fourth principle is holistic healing. So the emotion code acknowledges the connectedness of our mind, body, and spirit in the healing process. And by releasing trapped emotions and restoring energetic balance, it can help us to experience improvements in our physical health, our emotional well-being, and our overall quality of life. The fifth principle is self-empowerment. Dr. Nelson often emphasizes the importance of self-awareness and self-empowerment in this process. And by learning and practicing these techniques that are taught in the emotion code, you can take an active role in your own healing journey. You don't have to rely on anybody else. You can cultivate a greater emotional resilience and create better well-being for yourself. You don't even have to go and see somebody. And the emotion code book actually explains all of the techniques and how to do it on yourself. You do not have to get certified if you just want to do it on yourself and like your family members, your pets. But if you are interested in offering sessions to other people, then it is necessary to get the certification, which you can do through the website. All right, cool. So to sum all that up, the emotion code offers a holistic approach to healing by addressing the underlying emotional imbalances that might be contributing to your physical and emotional symptoms. And by identifying those and then releasing the trapped emotions, you can experience profound shifts in your health, your happiness, and it can lead to greater harmony and vitality in your lives, in your relationships, in your experiences. It's really awesome. Okay, so time for another testimonial. This one is on page 245, and it's about a baby. It's called "A Baby Can Finally Sleep and Eat Without Pain." A young mother brought her 6-month-old son in. Someone referred her, as the doctors had said there was nothing they could do for the little guy. The mother said he was having terrible sleep and pain with eating and digestion. I used the mom as a surrogate, and we released 4 or 5 trapped emotions. I tested that the little guy was taken on the stress at home from his parents. 2 weeks later, I spoke with the mother, and the first night he slept all night. And the next day, his digestion was normal and had continued to be normal since. Jimmy A. So Jimmy A was the practitioner that sent in that testimonial, and it's in the book. I think that's so cool. And so we'll get into that a little bit later too. It's actually coming up very soon. We're going to talk about like where trapped emotions can come from. And so this baby was absorbing the trapped emotions from his family and storing them in his body, and it was messing with his sleep and his eating. Super, super interesting. So if you are somebody who's gone to doctors or you've been looking for solutions to these issues and people have been like, there's nothing wrong with you, I don't see any medical evidence, or I don't see anything, your tests are all fine. Sometimes a physical symptom can be created by trapped emotions. So if you're having that experience and you're like, I don't even know what to do anymore, I don't know what to try, that's a sign that maybe an emotion code session could help. And so I would encourage you to explore that avenue if you're in that position. Okay, let's talk about the concept of trapped emotions and how they impact our physical and emotional well-being. So trapped emotions are unresolved emotional energies from past experiences that have become lodged or trapped within the body's energy field. And these emotions can linger for years, even decades, and they can manifest as physical discomfort, as illness, as emotional distress, as imbalances. So I want to kind of take a closer look at how trapped emotions can impact our physical and emotional well-being. So trapped emotions are formed through various things, and some of those things are traumatic events. If you go through a traumatic event, if you're chronically stressed, if you have negative thought patterns, so maybe you're somebody that has this pattern of negative self-talk and you just can't get out of your head and you can't stop saying things that are not nice to yourself. Or maybe you have unresolved conflicts and relationships. Maybe you have patterns in your life that are showing up over and over and over again. When we experience intense emotions like fear, anger, sadness, and even grief, and don't fully process or release that emotion, they can become trapped within our energy field. So how do we get trapped emotions? Trapped emotions can develop as a result of various life experiences, especially ones that create strong or overwhelming emotions in us. And that can happen through life events, like traumatic or emotionally charged events like accidents, loss of a loved one, abuse, divorce. All of those things can lead to trapped emotions. Another thing that can lead to trapped emotions is, and this is really common, childhood experiences. So events or experiences from childhood, including neglect, abandonment, bullying. Maybe there's a parental conflict between you and your parents, or between your parents or the family in your household. All of that stuff can create emotional imprints and become trapped emotions. If you're fighting a lot with your spouse and you have kids, that can create trapped emotions for them. Unresolved emotions are another way that emotions can get trapped. So emotions that aren't fully processed or expressed in the moment can become trapped, especially if they're suppressed, denied, or ignored over time. So if you've ever felt like crying and you didn't cry in that moment, that can create trapped emotions. You can get inherited emotions. So some trapped emotions may be inherited from ancestors or passed down through family lines. And this can contribute to patterns of behavior and emotional imbalances. And it can be really off-putting because you can have inherited emotions and have this feeling and not really know where it comes from. And we'll get into that. I'm going to read a testimonial about inherited emotions as soon as I'm done with this section. So another thing that can trap emotions is environmental factors. If you're in a stressful or negative environment, like a toxic work environment, an unhealthy or abusive relationship, or constant exposure to negativity, like maybe you have a friend who's just always complaining and always having a hard time and just relatively down all the time, or very angry, that can contribute to the accumulation of trapped emotions. So some of the types of trapped emotions that you can get are common trapped emotions, and these are the most common, which is why they're called common, and these are trapped emotions that come from you. So you're in a situation, you have an emotion, it doesn't get processed all the way, or it's very overwhelming, and then you trap that. You can also absorb emotions from other people. So you can, if you have a friend, like I said, who's going through a hard time and they're complaining and they're feeling like all these heavy emotions and you're around them, you can absorb some of their emotions and trap them within you. You can also share trapped emotions with people. So if an event takes place and everybody, how do I explain this? Let's say there's a public event, like when JFK was assassinated. Everybody who loved JFK and was around for that happening could trap the same emotions all together because they're all experiencing the exact same thing at the exact same time in the exact same situation. And that's what creates a shared emotion that can get trapped. You can also have prenatal trapped emotions, which happen within the first, second, and third trimesters. And that can come from an emotion that you have as a fetus or when you're in your mom's body, and you can get it from you, like the trapped emotion can originate from you, or you can absorb it from your mom. So let's say your mom is super stressed out during her pregnancy, or she's ashamed that she's pregnant. She can trap those emotions and then pass them to you. And so during a session, if we find a prenatal trapped emotion, we would release it for you and also for your mom, if it was absorbed from her. And that goes for the inherited trapped emotions too. I've found emotions that were like 22 generations back, and we release it from everybody in that whole lineage who inherited that trapped emotion all the way back to the first person 22 generations back. And then we also release it from any of your kids or grandkids or other family members who've absorbed it from that family line. And then the last type of trapped emotion is a preconception trapped emotion. These are very rare. I did find 2 of them, I think, and they are super, super rare. And I told you, I've done like around 40 sessions. So the fact that I found 2 after releasing hundreds of trapped emotions, they're very, very rare. So I'm going to read an excerpt from the book about them so that it's a very awesome way that he explained it. So preconception trapped emotions. On rare occasions, I've discovered trapped emotions that actually occurred prior to conception but were not inherited. I believe that prior to conception, we exist as conscious beings, but we are without physical bodies. Instead, we exist as spirit beings. we can think for ourselves, and we are aware of our coming journey to Earth. Most preconception trapped emotions are about our impending time on Earth. It seems that sometimes, even though we may rejoice in our opportunity to come to Earth, we become frightened or dismayed by the journey ahead of us. To leave that place of beauty, perfection, and love to come here to this earth with all its trouble, violence, and war might make even the stoutest heart wilt. Sometimes preconception trapped emotions have to do with some sort of grief or sadness about leaving our heavenly home. But I've also seen cases where trapped emotions were created by relationship problems from that other world where we used to live not that long ago. Preconception trapped emotions are quite rare, but you'll probably see one eventually. And although they are unusual and can often be quite powerful, they are released just like any other trapped emotion. All right, so now I'm going to read a testimonial from Julie, who inherited some trapped emotions. All right, this is on page 241. Oh man, this is so good. Okay. Let me go ahead and take these sticky notes out for the ones I've already read so that I'm not confused. All right. So Julie's story. Oh my gosh, it's so good. So the testimonial says, we got Julie when she was a day old. She was a drug-exposed baby, and we planned on adopting her. She was sick and in and out of the hospital at least 3 or 4 times a month with severe asthma and was on a machine to help her breathe, on prednisone and two or three other asthma medicines. She had cerebral palsy and her behavior was just terrible. We found Dr. Nelson for my mother, who was not doing well, and after seeing how far along she came, we decided to bring Julie to him. She's seen Dr. Nelson for 13 treatments, and when we came, she was in the hospital 7 times in December, and she was on a machine. It's been 3 weeks since she has had any asthma medicine or the asthma machine or anything. She's doing really well. She's walking much better and her bad behavior is almost gone. She is talking now. When we started bringing her in, her speech was not there. She's talking, counting, and she's doing very, very well. We are very pleased and very happy with the results so far. She's just a different child. It was to the point that we didn't know if we were going to make it through a day with her or not between the asthma and her fit throwing. She could have fits that would last for 2.5 hours. Now she may get irritated, but no fits. She might cry a little bit, but that's about it. We feel very happy and we feel very good. Betty R. And Julie, it goes into it in the book about Julie's story, but she'd inherited the emotion of love unreceived from her birth mother. And love unreceived is an emotion that occurs when somebody feels unloved or when their love for another is rejected. And Julie, this little girl's mother, had suffered from a trapped emotion of love unreceived and then passed it on to her at the moment of conception. Julie, the child, had also inherited hatred from her birth father. She had absorbed the trapped emotion of grief and anger from her birth mother. And she also had absorbed the emotions of grief, discouragement, and sorrow from her mom in the 3rd trimester, well, before Julie had even been born. She'd also absorbed hopelessness from her mother at birth. And she had feelings of unworthiness and self-abuse at age 1 that were also released. And the results, as you could see, were that she was in the hospital less. Her behavior got better. I think they talked about this more in the book and said that she was able to sleep. She had wheezing that actually went away. Like, there were so many, and this was after, 13 sessions I think she had. Hers was a more extreme case, and so it took a lot of sessions. But I think that's such an amazing example of how this can be so helpful for people. Okay, so we're still exploring the concept of trapped emotions and how they can impact our physical and emotional well-being. So let's talk about how they disrupt our energy flow. So trapped emotions disrupt the natural flow of our energy through our bodies, which can lead to energy blockages or imbalances. And these blockages can hinder the flow of vital life force energy, also known as chi or prana or ki. And it can prevent the flow of that vital life force energy through our body's energy pathways, which can impact our physical health and our emotional well-being. So trapped emotions, just period, have their own vibration. They have a frequency. Every trapped emotion has its own unique frequency. And so let's say your body also has its own frequency. You have your electromagnetic energy field. And so imagine your energy field is doing its thing. It's flowing. And then you experience this emotion of anger. You don't fully process it. It gets trapped. So then that vibration of that energy, and they can actually measure it. So it's like the size of your fist, and it can be up to the size of a grapefruit. So imagine this energy ball of anger getting lodged in your body somewhere. And so that vibration of anger, which does not match the resonance of your body, it's trapped in there. And so it'll eventually it can potentially start affecting your physical body, because let's say it's trapped in your chest. If you have that vibration, that heavy vibration that's not naturally a part of your energy sitting in your chest, it can create an imbalance and disrupt the flow of your energy, because your energy is like, hey, this isn't supposed to be here. So that's kind of how it can disrupt the flow of energy. And then trapped energy can create physical manifestations. So kind of like continuing on with what I was saying, these symptoms or ailments in various parts of your body can come from that foreign vibration of some emotion that's then stuck in your body. And it can happen with your energy centers, your chakras. So if you have any blocked chakras, that can also be from trapped emotions. And it can, imagine this like foreign vibration sitting on your soft tissues or around or on or in your organs. It's saying, like, the way that they put it is like chronic tension in your shoulders can be linked to unresolved feelings of stress or burden. And like digestive issues can be related to suppressed emotions like anxiety or resentment. And it's because when that vibration is there, vibration frequency affects matter. And so the longer it's there, the more issues it can cause. And so I've got another testimonial about allergies, and it's on page 188. All right, so hay fever. It says, I've been working with the emotion code since 2010. My husband has severe hay fever, so in the spring, the itchy eyes, sneezing, and congestion begin and last most of the summer. Early each spring, I began working on trapped emotions that are causing his symptoms. His father also had severe hay fever, which is what prompted me to go directly after inherited trapped emotions. I found several of them, released them, and to our amazement, his hay fever has been reduced to almost nothing. Sandra J. How cool is that? I need to do the emotion code of my allergies. Man, I feel like my nose has just been like perpetually congested. All right, and then I have another one that I want to read. It's about physical pain on page 191, back and thigh pain gone. So for the last 5 months, my back and thigh pain have been at a 10 on a 0 to 10 scale. After removing betrayal that I had inherited from my mother and abandonment that came from my own failed marriage at 17 years old, both my thigh and back pain totally left and have not come back. I'm now running 9 miles a day and have lost 49 pounds in 6 weeks. Bart B. What? Love that. I love that. And a little bit later, we're going to get into questions and like ideas for things that you can address with an emotion code session. So just hang out. We're getting there. So trapped emotions not only affect our physical health, but they can also contribute to emotional distress and mental imbalances. Unresolved emotions can amplify our feelings of anxiety, depression, or low self-esteem, which can ultimately create this cycle of negative thought patterns and emotional reactivity. So if you are somebody that has a lot of negative self-talk, and I used to be that person, I had no idea. And somebody suggested to me every time I noticed that I was having a negative thought toward myself to write it down. Oh my God, I filled up so many pages. This was while I was married. It was years ago. And it made me so aware that I was constantly talking to myself negatively. And it was causing a lot of emotional distress, but it was also coming from a lot of emotional distress that I didn't even realize was there. And it was manifesting as me essentially just being really mean to myself all the time. So, oh man, I say so a lot. Okay, so I have another testimonial for that. It's also from the book. It's on page 198. I could probably do my own personal testimonial, but we're not doing that today. So this one's called 1,000 Tears. I was working on myself and found that I had an inherited trapped emotion of hopelessness. It had been passed from my father. It had been passed from father to daughter to son to daughter to son, etc., and went back 27 generations. I got excited about releasing this inherited trapped emotion and envisioned all the people I was helping. As soon as I finished releasing this emotion with 10 swipes of the magnet, I felt a wave of feelings coming over me. Gratitude, relief, letting go of pain, and then joy. The tears began to flow, and I felt as if I were crying 1,000 tears for all those people who had carried this hopelessness and were now able to be free of it. What a powerful tool this is. I'm so grateful to be able to bless my ancestors in this way. Anel D. And I actually did want to share something from my own personal experience about this. I was doing a session on one of my sisters, and I was releasing an inherited emotion, an inherited trapped emotion that came from my mom, who's now passed. She's no longer in this physical world with us. And as I released that trapped emotion, it was a heavy one. I think it was terror, or something like that, maybe humiliation, something like that. And I don't even remember. I've done so many sessions. But as I released that, and I was doing this session for my sister, when I released the inherited trapped emotion that was passed to us from our mom, as soon as I released it, I had this overwhelming feeling of gratitude that was coming from, it wasn't me. It wasn't gratitude for me. I wasn't really in this. I was doing the session for my sister, and I was doing it, I was doing a proxy session. So she wasn't with me. I was here by myself doing the session for my sister. And as soon as I released it, man, I literally felt this wave of gratitude wash over me, and I had this overwhelming urge to cry. I felt like joy, like this relief, like a relief, like I was a little bit lighter, and I could just feel my mom and her gratitude for having also experienced the release of that trapped emotion. It was really heavy on her too, and I cried for like 5 minutes. It was really, I can't even explain it. It was really, I'm going to cry now talking about it. But yeah, so even if you have a parent or a family member and you're just like, oh my God, how can I help you? You doing emotion code sessions for yourself or getting emotion code sessions can also help other people connected to you. And you can release some of that stuff for them if you have a connection to that trapped emotion. And I think that's beautiful. So if you've ever heard from me in a session or from somebody else in a reading, or that you've got some ancestral stuff that you're healing or clearing, that is something you can come to an emotion code session with. And I'm really excited because I'm going to be adding this on as like something that you can get. So if you get an Akashic Records reading, you can also like tack on an emotion code healing session with that, and we can start clearing away some of that ancestral stuff that comes up. I'm so excited about the implications for how this can be used. I'm so excited. Oh my gosh. Okay. So trapped emotions can also have an impact on relationships. Trapped emotions can affect our interactions with others and the quality of our relationships. So unresolved emotional baggage can lead to communication breakdowns, conflicts, and it can also lead to patterns of behavior that hinder intimacy and connection. So I've got this testimonial from the book, and it's about, where is it? Joy. The emotion code makes joy possible. Page 190. My dysfunctional childhood made it hard for me to give and receive love. My relationships with my own children were volatile and became harder as they got older. I had an inherited emotion of sadness from my great-great-grandmother, which had actually been part of my own heart wall. This grandmother had buried a 9-year-old child. I remembered seeing that picture as a young girl. When we lost our 2 sons, I realized through the emotion code that I was sharing her sadness and giving it weight in my own life. It was a sheer weight lifted to identify this inherited sadness and release it. The emotion code brought a change of view. I find I'm available to my living children now. I'm finding joy in life that I was unaware existed. I look forward to seeing more personal growth in years to come, thanks to the emotion code. Susie A. Oh, I love that. I love that so much. So if you're having a hard time connecting with your kids or with family members, or you feel like the outcast of your family, there could be trapped emotions or ancestral stuff that you're carrying that could be linked to that. It's just so interesting. So trapped emotions can also affect our overall well-being. By addressing trapped emotions, it's essential for restoring balance and promoting overall well-being. Releasing trapped emotions can create space for healing, self-awareness, and personal growth, and help us to experience more vitality, more emotional resilience, and more inner peace. Trapped emotions can really have a profound impact on our lives, physically and emotionally, and it can affect everything from our health, our relationships, to the quality of our life. So being able to recognize and address trapped emotions is such an important step in holistic healing and emotional liberation. So now that we've talked a little bit about how trapped emotions happen, what kinds of trapped emotions there are, I want to go into the origins and development of the emotion code, and we're just going to touch on this a bit. So it was created by Dr. Bradley Nelson. He's a holistic chiropractor and a veteran in the field of energy healing. He developed the emotion code based on his years of experience in working with his patients, and he developed it in the 90s. So it can be traced, the emotion code, the origins of the emotion code can be traced back to his observations that emotional baggage or trapped emotions often contribute to physical ailments and emotional distress in his patients. He began exploring the idea that unresolved emotions could become trapped in the body's energy field, leading to imbalances and health issues. And he drew from various healing modalities, including chiropractic techniques, traditional Chinese medicine, and applied kinesiology. And he developed a systematic approach to identifying and releasing these trapped emotions. He experimented a lot and refined his techniques and eventually came up with the emotion code protocol, which uses muscle testing to pinpoint very specifically trapped emotions and using magnets or your hand and intention to release them. And he documented his findings and techniques in his book. It's called The Emotion Code: How to Release Your Trapped Emotions for Abundant Health, Love, and Happiness. And it was published in 2007. So it's been out for a while. All right. So I've got another testimonial for you. I have so many. Oh my God, I love testimonials. Like, let's talk about how it works. So cool. So this one's called Genetic Disorder Improved. I carry the gene for ankylosing spondylitis, and it's been active for many years. AS is an autoimmune arthritis that turns your spine ligaments to bone, giving you a hunchback once it fuses. It also affects every joint in your body and your organs. My pain had reached an all-time high, and it was difficult to turn over or get out of bed without extreme pain. I had my first emotion code session, and my pain level went from an 8 to a 1. My bone pain was basically gone. It's been 3 months since then, and still almost zero bone pain. Susan R. What? Love that for you, Susan. Love that. All right. Let's see. So I want to give a couple more examples of the effectiveness of the emotion code in resolving emotional issues and improving overall health. So I have another example, and it's called The Emotion Code Saved Our Marriage. And I love this one. I love this because I think it can be so helpful for relationships. And I know we all have relationship stuff, whether it's with a friend or a spouse or ourselves. Okay, so the emotion code saved our marriage. I must start by saying my husband and I have been married for just over 20 years. And while we've always had a very good relationship, the last few years have been very challenging in every aspect of life. We'd become so stressed in life that we didn't even like each other anymore. We were on the verge of needlessly ending our marriage. And while buying the emotion code was not with the intention to save our marriage, as I had no idea it could, we both learned how to use the method. My husband had been working out of town, and suddenly we were missing each other and communicating more, and with much more affection and consideration toward each other. Obviously, the feelings were there all along, but were so buried. The emotion code was so freeing. I didn't realize how much I had turned myself off and had become a non-feeling person. I am a new, better me. My marriage is better than ever, and emotionally, I feel liberated. I can't really express to you the dramatic, positive turnaround this program has given us both. Thank you for all that you do to bring this information into the lives of others. Sarita C. Oh, Love that so much. And then love the testimonials about animals. So I'm going to read one about this horse. Oh my gosh, I love the animal ones. Okay, it's called Ariana's Swayed Back. There are a few stories I have involving me and my work with horses, but one in particular instantly showed remarkable physical results. A Paso Fino mare named Ariana was an abused horse. She was nearly starved to death, and who knows what else she had endured. Animal control was able to step in and save her from certain death. The farm that I worked for brought her to North Carolina, her forever home. Ariana was fearful of her own shadow, and the wonderful people at her new home worked with her for many hours until she was able to trust humans again. At 12 years old, Ariana had a swayed back. Most would believe it to be from being started under saddle too young. Before I started her tension release session, I did the emotion code using a pendulum instead of muscle testing. I released the emotions of abandonment, fear, and helplessness, and to my amazement, Ariana's back raised up nearly 3 inches. This happened right before my eyes. Ariana is a true testament to the physical changes that releasing trapped emotions can achieve. Carolyn W. Oh, love it. All right, I have a whole bunch more testimonials I have listed here, but we've got to get on with it. Okay, so some benefits of the emotion code. So emotional release. So I want to highlight the potential benefits of practicing the emotion code or getting a session. And some of the main benefits are emotional release, stress reduction, and improved relationships. But we're going to go through 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so stress reduction is the first one. Oh, no, it's not. It's emotional release. So, excuse me. The emotion code can help you to identify and release trapped emotions that are stored in your body's energy field. Releasing these trapped emotions can lead to emotional liberation, which can allow you to let go of old wounds, fears, and negative patterns of thinking. So by releasing emotional baggage, you can experience greater emotional freedom, inner peace, and resilience. And it's also good for stress reduction. So it can help reduce your stress levels by releasing the emotional burdens that contribute to the feeling of overwhelm and tension. Releasing trapped emotions can help you to restore energetic balance and promote relaxation, which can allow you to manage your stress more effectively. And then as your stress decreases, you might feel improvements in sleep quality, mood, overall well-being. When you trap an emotion in your body and you have that vibration just hanging around in there, you can feel a little bit of that emotion at all times. So it can make you overreact to things. Let's say you have a trapped emotion of overwhelm, and then it seems like any little thing overwhelms you in your life because you always have this underlying vibration of overwhelm within you. And anytime something happens, whether it's a big thing or a little thing, it can trigger that emotion that's already trapped in you and then make it kind of explode into a bigger feeling emotion. And so that's what happens sometimes when people are overreacting. When you're like, that reaction doesn't match the situation, it could be because they have a trapped emotion and that trapped emotion is getting exacerbated. Okay, so improved relationships is another potential benefit of releasing trapped emotions. And so releasing trapped emotions can impact your relationships positively by helping to resolve underlying conflicts, resentments, and misunderstandings. And then as you release that emotional baggage, it can make you feel more open, more empathetic, and more compassionate toward others. It can help to improve your emotional health and communication skills, which can help you to deepen your connections with other people in your relationships. It can create more harmony in your relationships. And it can also lead to greater intimacy and understanding. Another benefit is enhanced self-awareness. The emotion code promotes self-awareness by helping you to identify and understand the root causes of your emotional challenges. And you can have trapped emotions that can make it difficult to feel abundance. It can make it difficult to access your gifts. Like if you've trapped the emotion of fear because you experienced a scary spiritual situation, and then that trapped emotion of fear is blocking some of your gifts from being able to be open and accessed in your life. So through releasing trapped emotions, you can gain insight into your thought patterns, into your behaviors, into your emotional triggers. It can help you to increase your self-awareness, and it can also empower you to consciously make better choices or make choices that are going to help you to live the life that you want. It can help you to create more positive habits, and it can help you to be able to navigate the challenges of life with greater clarity and intention, because you're not going to be clouded by all the trapped emotions that are just hanging out and contributing to the way that you're feeling all the time without you even being aware of it a lot. It can also, another one of the benefits is physical healing. Releasing trapped emotions can have profound effects on your physical health and healing. It can speed healing. It can help to restore balance. It can help with emotional imbalances that are often linked to physical symptoms and ailments like chronic pain, aches and pains in your body, digestive issues, fatigue. It can also help by addressing the emotional root causes of physical symptoms. So you may experience improvements in your overall health and vitality. And I have another testimonial about this horse, but I'm not going to include it because it's really long. Okay, so let's see. Releasing trapped emotions can help with emotional resilience because it creates emotional liberation. It helps you to increase your emotional awareness, helps you to release chronic stress, helps you to enhance your coping skills. It gives you freedom from emotional baggage, helps you to cultivate inner peace, and it also helps with alignment with your authentic self, which can help you to make decisions that will better lead you to your path, that will lead you to a more smooth life, to more abundance. And there are a ton of questions that you can ask in an emotion code session, or, issues that you can address. And so I want to read some examples of those, which are, you can ask, do I have a trapped emotion that's preventing me from losing weight? Is there a trapped emotion that's causing inflammation in my tissues? Do you have a trapped emotion that's blocking you from making more money? Is there a trapped emotion that's preventing me from selling more of my product or service? Is there a trapped emotion that's contributing to my back, neck, shoulder, knee, whatever, fill in the blank, pain? Do I have a trapped emotion that's causing me to be depressed, short-tempered, angry, overwhelmed, etc.? Do I have a trapped emotion about my husband, my wife, my son, my daughter, my boss, my coworker who's always stepping on my toes, etc.? Is there a trapped emotion that's interfering with the achievement of my goals? Is there a trapped emotion that's making it more difficult for me to quit drinking, quit smoking, quit using drugs, quit looking at porn, etc.? Do I have a trapped emotion about fill in the blank for a specific event? You can ask about trapped emotions that are related to the loss of a loved one and grief. You can ask about gifts. Is there a trapped emotion that's keeping me from being able to be clairvoyant? Is there a trapped emotion that's keeping me from receiving abundance? Is there a trapped emotion that's related to me feeling unworthy? Is there a trapped emotion that's creating my messed up sleeping patterns that's keeping me awake at night? Is there a trapped emotion that's keeping me from finding a loving relationship? You can ask about so many things, and you can keep it specific, or you can go general and just be like, is there a trapped emotion related? Is there just a trapped emotion I can release right now? Or you can specify inherited emotions. There's so many ways that you can do it. So, all right. Let's see. We've got, I think that I'm going to do a part 2 for this because there is a bunch of other stuff that I want to talk about. So we'll just keep this as part 1 of the emotion code, and then I will follow up with part 2. All right. Thank you so much. If you have questions, because I think in part 2, I'm going to go over a lot of questions that commonly come up. I'm going to talk about resources, how to incorporate the emotion code into your life, common questions, concerns, misconceptions. Like how to apply it to your life. What's the difference? How does the whole subconscious thing work? How does it work without somebody being there? Don't you need to feel into the healed version of yourself? We're going to talk about all of that stuff, and I'll read more testimonials. So If you do have questions about the emotion code, I highly, highly encourage you to reach out. I'll try to remember to do a social media post and like actually prompt you and be like, hey, do you guys have questions about the emotion code? Because I'm doing part 2 of the podcast. And so you'll be able to ask them there on that post, or you can always comment on a post or reach out, DM me, send me an email, call into the podcast. There should be a link in the show notes where you can leave me a voicemail. So there are many, many ways to reach me. You can email me, you can go to my website and fill out the contact form, whatever resonates with you. So thank you so much for joining me for this episode of the Spirituality with Ashley podcast. I love you so much, sending you all of the love and positive vibes, and I will see you in the next episode. Take care.